So, I don't know which language I should speak, either Italian or English. Obviously, now I'm speaking English. But I do like, I'd like to do the same thing in Italian as well. I am quite in the middle between, in the range of people who have a cavalier approach to language learning and people who have an obsessive um, approach to language learning. Latins used to say in medio estat virtus, the golden means. I have I'd say a long-lasting experience when it comes to language. I would say absorbing but anyway, for the sake of clarity, we say learning. But the idea, the word learning gives you the impression of a classical approach, while absorbing gives you the idea of a more unconventional approach. I have a lot to say. First problem in language assimilation is money. I know whatever you do, money is something you get for, to, you cannot live without money. Sorry, I haven't prepared, so I'm thinking out loud in a way. But sometimes people start from the money. Where can I get money? Where can I make a pretty penny? And then, oh, language learning. The difference is when you love something, and in order to live, you make a living out of that, or when you just love the idea of making money and you try to find your niche in order to do that. So, what is the problem? The problem is that, to tell you the truth, with internet, with the ability to have access to anything and everything, we can be exposed to the language we're learning. Okay, the problem is you get off at the deep end and you drown. I mean, you just need something, a beginning from simple things, so you're exposed to the language, but you're exposed to a language you can make sense of, you can understand, if you catch my drift. Sorry, I'm looking for something. So the problem is, most of the material you find either is to scholarly people speaking the language you already know the whole time, explaining the language, and that doesn't work, or just people speaking. So you should find situations in the video where you can infer the meaning of what's going on, and so you absorb the language. I'm sorry to say that this material that in itself would be sufficient enough for anybody to learn a foreign language up to a certain point, then okay, everything is, when you already have a working knowledge of the language, you can start and utilize and use all the material you want to, because you're able to understand most of it, and you use that as a learning material. As a matter of fact, every time we deal with language, the target language, we are learning. So the problem is the beginning, and people look for some weird material and whatever, watching stuff. I don't know if you can say that in English. There's reading stuff, reading book, and this, you can get lost. You really get lost. And a lot of people explain the language. In my view, explaining the language is the last resort thing. It's like when you have a love relationship. The worst thing that can happen is that you have to explain your feelings. Oh, no, the moment you have to explain your feelings and you have to do that, it's not working. Some things happen without conscious help and without this amount of consciousness. So, and sometimes your solution is just under your very nose. What is the solution? A textbook that is made in a quite, is conceived in a practical way, but also that fix in your mind the structures of the language, words, and even grammar, for the most part in a subconscious way, even if, and I'm speaking about, I'm not paid to do that. That's my experience. I'm sure there are similar methods, but I know this, and this is quite available. So the first thing you should do is invest on a book and the audio part of the book. Every time I walk, most of the times, not every time, but anyway, I listen to the recordings of this book. I know it's in French, I know French well enough to use it, but this the book I'm using to learning Turkish. I'm sure there is an English, I'm not sure, but okay. So you have something like that. It's very practical. Every new lesson harps on, I don't know if you can say that, on what you've been doing before. Reiterates structures and words and adds new words and new things. Every 7 lesson there's a grammar lesson that is all the grammar you've been dealing with in the previous 7 lessons. What is the good thing about this? Is this the be-all end-all solution to language learning? No. But at least you know you're doing something that has meaning, that is made in a way that you learn the basic structures of the language, useful words in sentences and in dialogues, and you can listen to that. What is the problem? Most of people learn languages that they, in a way, they already know. What do I mean by that? English and French have many common words because half of the English vocabulary has French or Latin origin with different pronunciation, sometimes even different meaning, but it's familiar. It's not familiar only to French speakers, it's familiar to Italian speakers, Spanish speakers, Portuguese speakers, Romanian speakers, Catalan speakers, and I'm mentioning the major Neo-Latin languages, Romance languages. Other things. Most of the languages that people learn, not all of them, but many of them, are what we call Indo-European languages. They stem from the same ancient language that we don't know, but we, comparing all these languages, we have a vague idea of what Proto-Indo-European is. So we share a lot of structures. The word order, the fact that these languages, many of these languages have declinations in a way. Some don't have, some have just a little bit remainder of declinations. Italian doesn't have, English have only the genitive, but in pronouns we have I, me, he, him, she, her. That's a kind of declination. We share a lot of common things that we don't even know. But when I started learning Turkish, okay, a language can be structured in a whole different way. Most of the Turkish words are new to me. Okay, I know modern Greek. There are some, I don't know, 100 words that I more or less know from Greek. Sometimes they have a different pronunciation most of the times, and sometimes also slightly different meaning. Some of the words are from French, even in Turkish. There are even words that look exactly like Italian, Parlamento, Fabbrica. Okay, there are words that sounds like Italian. But the majority of these words are of, obviously, Turkic origin, Persian and Arabic. Since I don't know Persian, I don't know Arabic, and I'm still learning Turkish, every word is fucking new to me. You know, a word, okay, spelling is easy. I'm using Turkish as an example. I cannot come up with other examples of language I don't know. So, how long does it take for a person to understand a completely different language? Russian is completely different. Yes, words are completely different. But once you know the words, more or less, there's a subject, there's a verb, there's an object, there are prepositions, more or less. More or less. I have a book, j'ai un livre, un libro, έχω ένα βιβλίο. I don't know in German, but some of these languages do not really need a subject if the verbs are conjugated. But anyway, so you have to face remembering words with the right sounds, okay? And that's a major problem. obviously Turkish is written for the most part in a, what is it? I cannot find the word, in a phonetical way. I mean, if you read, sometimes you make a mistake because you don't know where the stress is. Why Greek, modern Greek, unless it's capitalized, there are stresses. Okay, but for the most part, stresses on the last syllables. Not every time. You can make mistakes. You'll need to listen, or you know, write the stress. For example, the town of Smyrna is not Izmir, is Izmir. I said I always thought it was Izmir, so we don't have to take things for granted. So what do I do? I always read and reread the book. What is the advantage of reading? If I've been listening to the lessons, reading is faster than listening. So you can, from one side, fixing all these things in a faster way. The downside is that you end up doing what your exercise says train you to do, to read. My main goal is to speak and understand, obviously, understanding and I was thinking in Greek, and then and afterwards speaking. So I need not only to read the read, and I write beside near the meaning and the translation with my pens, P-E-N-S, not pants. And then I listen. Obviously, I tell you something. Why do I learn so well languages so well? I think I don't have a good memory. I have a brain like a sieve. So what do? I need to repeat and listen to these words. I need to be exposed to these words time and time again until they get into my subconscious mind. So either I don't know the word, I heard the word, I don't remember the meaning. In order to understand people in real time when they speak, you need to know these words, even if they are in a foreign language. I'd say a new language, but the word foreign gives you the idea, is daunting. Foreign. No, it's foreign for a while. After a while, it's not foreign anymore. You need to be able to understand this word, even if you don't think. If I say the Italian word cane, the word is the meaning. I don't listen to the words and I imagine a dog. The moment the words end, actually, when you say can, you already know it's cane, because in the context there are not many words. Can, okay, cantare, but ho un cane, dog. Anyway, it's immediate, okay? Most of the times people learn words reading from text, writing the meaning in the language beside. You think you know the word and you forget. And you say, why I'm forgetting? Yes, you're forgetting words because we are not computers. We forget. It's like, that's my theory, our mind erases everything for new things unless they find the same thing every day in the same place. Okay, it's there. At a certain point, okay, it's there. Every day I put it out and it comes back there and I leave it there. So our mind tends to forget unless we show our mind that this word, this language, this structure really is something we really need. And how do we get that? Just because we use it to learn, and then we use it when we speak. And we need a lot of passages before, okay? So, in order to learn, we need to live with the fact that we forget. But there comes always, I know, there are some words that are, on the verge of being in the long-term memory. And in time, they all fall in our long-term memory. The idea is to absorb in this long-term memory first words we really know. So we start speaking a foreign language from very simple things like babies. But we are exposed to a lot of things immediately we cannot make sense. Some people take as a given, no, you go there and you learn. No, I can stay 10 years in China without starting from simple things. I will learn very little Chinese because I'm exposed to a lot of things and our brain cannot make sense. It's like a crosswords with, huge. It doesn't make sense. At the end, the more we progress, it's easier from the context to understand your words. That's where having a textbook with recordings comes into play. One thing, I'd say language like for us, if you are Azeri, okay, Turkish is easy for you. If you are from, I don't know, Uzbekistan, maybe it's easy if you speak a Turkic language other than Turkish. But for most people, it's difficult. But many people think it's difficult because we are spoiled. We're used to learning language that in a way we already know. I'll give you an example. I'm Italian. Mountain, montagna. Nature, natura. Temperature, temperatura. I can go on and on. So the idea is take your bloody time. That doesn't mean not being exposed to the language. Be exposed to the language every day. Review your lesson, read them, listen to them, and when you are comfortable with listening to the lesson while you are at the supermarket, in a bank, wherever you are, and you can make sense without paying a lot of attention, you know. Actually, I do that in sections of 10 lessons, so I always review previous lessons, and maybe in time I leave out the first 10 lessons that I absorbed completely, or I review these lessons not so often. I have several books. I have different approaches, but I decided, okay, once I learn the Sassimil, and learning doesn't mean knowing. I mean, really, I know it. I can read it. I can listen to that. I understand that like English or Italian or Greek. I'm ready to move on to the second stage, which is a more practical approach. That means watching simple things, things where they speak slowly, things for children, or you can even watch some things and with YouTube and you slow down the speed, even if that is not really natural, okay, but anyway. But you need to understand most of it. You cannot work on something where you only know even 50% is not too much. You should understand at least 80%, and then you can guess the other 20% from the context. But if you get lost, and obviously many people get lost because they're not used to listening to the language. And many times people, most languages, they don't really speak the way it's written. Even if it's phonetical like Italian, we slur, everybody slur their words when they speak their own language many times, unless it is you're making a speech or whatever. I'm saying people speak fast, people eat their words. No, no, no. It's you. You're not prepared to real speed language where, you know, in order to speak at a certain rate, we don't articulate all our words. And that is a problem if you learn the language from books. Another thing, usually these methods intelligently start from a very simple language, like you're a child. I am John. I am a cowboy. Okay, and then the more you learn the language, the more the language becomes more natural. Okay? So, in spite of the fact that I still don't understand Turkish when people speak, okay, some things I understand because, okay, but I cannot really follow most of the, I don't even know very common words, but I know I'm on the right path because I'm following the book and always reviewing and only listening to this. And instead of being exposed to the language that makes me frustrated because I do not understand, and many people, oh, I don't understand English people. Yeah, you, because they pretend that they don't understand. No, 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 it's not that they pretend. If you don't articulate, if you don't pronounce well, people don't understand you. But I'm confident. Why? Because I learned Greek. Okay, Greek was a little bit easier in a way. Not the spelling, because when you're to write Greek is difficult. But I know I use the language for the most part to speak, not to write essays or not to write anything. And now I write for the most part better than Greek people. I don't make many spelling mistakes, but anyway. So I'd say don't be obsessed with learning a foreign language. Yet you need to do your daily homework. That means being exposed to the language. Read your lessons, listen to the lessons. At least half the time you're exposed to that lesson should be listening. Sometimes you first listen to the lesson, you try to understand, you don't understand. What I do, I work on all the words I don't know, I write the meaning, and then I reread. And I write the meaning, and then I listen to that. And I do the exercise, and in my mind, because I don't want to write on the book, because every time I reread, in my mind, I do my the exercises that are at the end of each lessons. So I don't feel frustrated because I do not understand Turkish. I feel confident because the previous lessons are part of me. I understand. Or sometimes I forget words, I repeat, and not only I absorb words, but I absorb structures, sentences that are used in a stock way, and this, the secret or the key is don't give up. Being exposed to the language, use a textbook, listen to the recordings, try to come to a point where you really understand the language. Okay? That's very difficult for language like Turkish, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, among non-European Indo-European languages. All languages of Europe are Indo-European except Basque, Finnish, Hungarian, and Turkish, because a part of Turkey is in Europe. I personally prefer non-Indo-European languages because they open my mind to a new way of thinking. Not even Greek opened my mind to. I like Turkish. I know some people don't like Turkey. There's a lot of, things about Erdogan. I think our politics. I personally like Turkey. I like many things about Turkey. Maybe I will change my mind because I know Greek people. I know their flaws, good sides and the bad sides. I haven't been really dealing with Turkish people in Turkish because you really discover the spirit of a people when you know the language, and you can read what they write in their language and not what they say in English or in Greek. People say some things in English and say or write other things in Greek. Believe you me, some they think that nobody understands Greek, so if they are write bad things and these bad things are accepted in Greece, like bad mouth in Turkey, okay, what's wrong? Most of Greek people don't care. Yeah, I mean, come on. So I want to say these things because sometimes people are obsessed with languages. Do this, and if you're really motivated and you take it as a challenge, okay. But many people, instead of wanting to learn the language more, all this informations, all these things about details, can you memorize this, can you memorize that, it becomes, okay, if language learning is that, I'd rather watch a movie, go for a walk, learning a musical instrument. Okay. And you're right. We're not all the same. I don't think that a person who speaks 3 languages is better than another person. It's just choice. His choice is just different from your choice. He chose to do something, but there are many other things in life that are beautiful. Okay? Learning about history, I don't know. Even language learning, I also like language, know things about languages, history of the languages, how language works, and things like that. That do not have really to do with the really language learning. Only there is a branch of linguistics that has to do with the language acquisition. That's the right word, acquisition. I couldn't find at the beginning. Okay, that's my 2 cents. Actually, it's more than 2 cents. I think it's $15, given the fact that it's 35 minutes about language learning. Goodbye.